Hey there, I'm Kat, and this is Brews and Reviews. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my TBR for the Spoonie Readathon. Now, if you don't know about the Spoonie Readathon, it's a readathon that I'm co-hosting along with the lovely Emily from Novelle Novels. The readathon is about celebrating disability and reading books around disability or by disabled authors. We have 7 prompts and a group book, but you don't actually have to do any of the prompts to take part in this readathon. Just read a book that features disability or is by a disabled author. We also have a live show on the 8th of May, where me and Emily will be talking to Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe and her wonderful sister Simi, where we'll be talking all things disability if you want to join us. So if you want any more information or a link to the live show, I'll leave the links for everything down in the description below so you can go check that out. But without further ado, let's get to my TBR. So first up, I'm going to be reading the group book, which is The Secret of Haven Point by Lizette Orton. This book is a middle grade fantasy about an island that becomes home to a lot of disabled people who are sort of outcast from their society, and it has a lot of found family aspects which I'm really looking forward to. I haven't looked into the plot too much more than that because I kind of want to be surprised, but I feel like it sounds like it's going to have really positive vibes and I'm definitely here for it. So prompt number 1 is to read a book that's written by an author with a disability. For this one I'm going to be reading Unseelie by Ivelisse Houseman. So this book is about twin sisters, one of whom is a professional rogue and the other who is an autistic changeling. And I feel like I don't need to know anything else about this book to know that I'm going to love it. I think there's a mystery element to it to do with the humans and the fae and coming together, but I feel like this just sounds really interesting and I'm all here for autism in fantasy worlds. I'm autistic myself and I'm just really excited to see this representation, and I don't know, I saw this book and I was like, that's the one. That's the one I'm reading. So the second prompt is to read a book with a character with an invisible disability. So for this one I'm going to read A Kind of Spark by Elle McNichol. This is a middle grade book about an autistic girl who learns that her town used to burn people for being witches, and she develops this kind of association with the people who were burned as witches because she's like, oh, they were different like me. And that's all I know about this book so far, and I don't want to know more because I feel like it's going to be a ride. Again, being autistic myself, I know what it's like to be outside of the neurotypical norm, so I don't know, I feel like this could have some feels in it and I'm very excited to read it. I see this book everywhere and everyone recommends it, so I am really excited to actually read it. Prompt number 3 is to read a book featuring disability that is a non-fiction book. And for this one I'm going to be reading The Invisible Kingdom by Megan Rourke. This book is an exploration into chronic illness and autoimmune diseases. I believe it also mentions long COVID and how that affects people. And I saw this book and I got really interested because in the past few years I have developed a chronic pain / illness, which has honestly been not the most fun. So I feel like reading more about that is something that would really interest me, and I don't know, I want to learn about how other people deal with chronic illness and how they experience it and how they experience life with that, because one of the things about chronic illness is it doesn't go away. It's chronic. It stays there. It's always there. I'm in pain and I'm not gonna not be in pain, so I feel like it's really interesting to get that perspective from other people who are experiencing the same thing. So I feel like this could be a really interesting one. I think this book features lots of interviews from like medical professionals as well as people who are experiencing this themselves, so I feel like it could be a really interesting one. Non-fiction isn't something that I usually read for, so I never really know if I'm picking up the right thing when it comes to non-fiction, but this one sounded interesting, so I'm going to give it a go. Prompt number 4 is to read a book featuring a disability that is not in a contemporary genre. So for this one I'm going to be reading God Killer by Hannah Kaner. Now this is a book I didn't realize had disability rap in it until I started looking when I was trying to make this TBR, and I was like, what? Okay, this has bumped it right up my TBR. This is a fantasy book with just the most gorgeous cover, and I don't know, I just look at it and I picked it up because of that. But it turns out it also has disability rap in it. One of the characters is an amputee and another one has PTSD that causes tremors, so I'm really interested to see how that plays out, particularly in this world. All I know about this book is that the main character is hunting down gods and becoming like a professional god killer until she finds a god that she can't kill. And like, I didn't want to go any further than that. I feel like that hooked me enough and I'm definitely here for it. Prompt number 5 is to read a book that features a disability that affects one of the 5 senses, and for this one I'm going to be reading Mooncakes by Suzanne Walker. This book has been kind of on the edge of my TBR for a while. I realised it's on Kindle Unlimited and I thought, you know, I'm going to pick it up. This book features deafness and follows a teen witch who works in her grandma's bookshop, and one night she bumps into her childhood crush who turns out to be a werewolf, and there's some magical things going on. I'm really interested in seeing where this one goes and I am hoping it's going to be cute. The cover makes it look like it's going to be cute, so I'm hoping this one's going to give me cute vibes. onwards. The next prompt is to read a book featuring a disability that is from a non-Western perspective or from a person of colour. For this one I'm going to be reading The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. This is another one of those books that has just been on the periphery of my TBR for ages, and I just haven't actually just dove into actually reading it, and I'm so excited that I have a reason to now, because it's like an 18-hour audiobook and I tend to put off reading bigger audiobooks, so actually being able to assign a prompt to this and finally reading it is really getting me excited. This is a North African inspired fantasy that follows two women, one who is a soldier who was conscripted as a child and the other who is a princess who is heir to this horrible empire that's doing the conscription and the bad things. I hear it's sapphic as well, so that's like an extra plus point for me, so very excited to read this one. Prompt number 7 is to read a book featuring a visible disability, and for this one I'm going to be reading Not My Type by Evie Mitchell. This is a romance book about a sexologist who is also a wheelchair user and runs an all-access podcast. She receives a request to sort of explore all-access bondage and like rope play, and I feel like that's a really interesting element to this and kind of why I wanted to read it for this prompt, because it's not only just like featuring a character who is a wheelchair user, but it is exploring how they go about doing things that maybe people wouldn't expect them to be able to do. I love reading and watching things where disabled people do things that like some people might think that they can't, and it just makes me really happy to read about that. So I feel like this one is going to be good, even though it is, I have heard, insta-lovey, but I feel like if I go into it knowing that it's going to be insta-love, then I'm not going to be like, well, that was insta-lovey. So yeah, I'm excited for this one. Now, those are all the books that I'm planning to read for the prompt, but that's definitely not an exhaustive list of the books that I'm planning to read for the readathon, because I started making a list of books featuring disabilities that I just really was interested in, and I've just got a giant list now. So I'm going to try and read as many of them as I possibly can. I know for definite I'm going to be reading Percy Jackson and The Son of Neptune, because I'm going to be buddy reading that with Emily from Novel Novels, and that obviously features characters with ADHD and dyslexia. Other books that I think I'll probably read are Lycanthropy and Other Chronic Illnesses by Kristen O'Neill. This one features Lyme disease. I've had my eye on One for All by Lily Lainoff for a while, and that features POTS. I hear wonderful things about 16 Souls by Rosie Talbot, which has a bilateral below-the-knee amputee as the main character. And lastly, I've been really interested in Unmasking Autism by Devon Price, which is a non-fiction book about unmasking. But yeah, that isn't my entire list. I feel like there's just so much that I want to get to, and hopefully I can do it. I'm thinking of vlogging throughout the month. Let me know if you'd like to see a vlog of me reading these books. I really enjoy doing vlogs, and I feel like it's a really good way to share things that I might forget about books that I'm reading. But yeah, let me know about that, and I'm really excited for this readathon. I really hope you'll join us. All you have to do to join the readathon is to read a book featuring a disability or from a disabled author. It's not that hard, you don't have to take part in the prompts, but we would love it if you did. We'd love it if you joined us. And if you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!